Arsenal have beaten Everton 1-0 at the brand new Hill Dickinson Stadium. We're going to review the match, all the talking points, and the lineup. We're then going to look at the rest of the Premier League as our rivals keep pace with us in the title race. Finally, we're going to look at the upcoming game in the Carabao Cup as Arsenal play Crystal Palace at the Emirates. All of this to come on our pre-Christmas special of Red Lines and Half Spaces. Welcome to episode 33 of Red Lines Half Spaces. Games keep coming. Christmas is upon us, but we don't stop. We're here to record for you, and we're here to review the game against Everton just this past weekend. But let's introduce our beautiful co-host, Joe. How are you doing, my friend? How's your day been?
All right, mate. Work is kind of winding down towards Christmas, which is nice. Be nice if you could not go into the office, but they have to do it. So, no, it's been all right, mate. All the Christmas shopping's done. Everything's taken care of.
This is the first Christmas for your little one, isn't it?
It is, mate. Yes, first Christmas for the little one. So we're all very busy in the house. All looking forward to it. New house.
So are you doing Christmas? Are you doing Christmas at your house, or are you doing it at your parents' house?
We're doing Christmas everywhere, mate. So we're having Christmas morning will be at my house, or our house,
Okay.
sorry. Then in the afternoon we'll go over to my mum's. Then Boxing Day we're back to my mum's with various different people coming and going, and then we're off to cousins, and there's all sorts of everyone wants a piece of the new baby, mate. So yeah, we're gonna be very busy, but I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? You keep busy on Christmas, and there's plenty of food, obviously, as well.
Exactly. Minimal cooking for us, but lots of eating, which is how it should be.
Minimal cooking. That's what Joe's signed up for, isn't he? He made his plans already. Look, love, I want to get away with minimal cooking this year, so let's use the baby as much as possible.
Minimal effort, but we do all the eating. So that's the plan this year.
That's
anyway.
That's the plan I like. So I'm going around to my mum's on Christmas Day to do the minimal effort.
It's crazy how quickly it's sort of come about, I think. It's got kind of, for ages, you think, oh, Christmas is what? It's a while off, and then you go, oh, actually, it's in a couple of days. So
it always does, doesn't it? It just pounces on you, because obviously December everyone's winding down, and then it becomes this kind of, it just springs on you. And then during Christmas, I said this to someone else, you have no idea what the day is during the Christmas period. It's like, is it a Tuesday, or is it a Wednesday, or is it a Thursday? I can't quite remember. So yeah,
between Christmas and New Year, days just become irrelevant. Are Arsenal playing? Yes or no? That's all that matters.
Exactly. Priorities, my friend. I love that. But Joe, let's go into the slide. So if you are watching on YouTube, you will be able to see the slide deck in a second. If you're not, we're just going to describe it to you in our own inimitable way. Where is it? There it is. Oh, we can hear the baby in the background.
Can you?
Yes. No, that's cool. It's, we know she's a fan. We know she's a fan. No, we know she's a fan. Last time out, Everton 0, Arsenal 1.
Carry on, Jim.
And it was a Victor Gyökeres penalty that gave us the win against Everton away. Always a tough fixture when we go to Goodison Park, and a tough fixture at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. But Joe, going into this game, we'd obviously lost to Villa in the last Premier League game. It left a bit of a... we'd had a bit of a tough game against Wolves. We'd lost against Villa. How was your mood coming into this game, given that City were 2 points behind us, Aston Villa 3 points behind us, and the title race had tightened up? There are questions about Arsenal's ability to, are they going to go the distance, having been, the favourites for a while, which I don't think any Arsenal fan in their right mind would have accepted, because we know how strong the Premier League is. But Joe, going into this game against Everton away is always tough, because we know what they're about, especially with David Moyes back in the hot seat. How did you feel about the game?
We discussed in the preview, didn't we? We said that how important this game was, because if you look at our history against Everton away, it's not good. I think it was 1 in 7. I think 1 win in 7 going into the game. So it's obviously I know we was going to the Hill Dickinson, which is a new stadium for us, but you're still playing Everton away, which is always been a tricky game for us. You then factor in, obviously, what we said about Arsenal have been kind of praised for being really consistent, playing really well so far this season. And Man City have kind of been taking sort of stray bullets, if you like, and people saying they've not been the Man City of old, they're struggling, they won't be anywhere near it, was the kind of the talk at the start of the season. But the gap's only 2 points. So it just shows you how quickly a few wins can sort of change sort of the perception of the season. I think Man United are a great example of that. I think they were near relegation again. I think they won 2 or 3 games on the bounce.
Yeah.
And then there was in a conversation about, are they going to make Champions League football? So it really highlights just how quickly things can change. So coming into this game for me, I think especially seeing Man City, the result they got at Palace, where they beat them 3-0, I thought that was a real kind of message from City that they mean business. Like Palace are a very good side. So to go there and get a 3-0 win was impressive. And I felt for me going into the game, this was our chance to kind of have our Palace moment, if you like, to go to Everton away. Tricky ground. They've had some good results at home, somewhere we've struggled previously. If we could go there and put in a good performance and get a good win off the back of what was dire against Wolves, then I think it would send a really strong message, because we had the week to prepare as well, which we haven't had for a long time. So yeah, going into it, I was confident, but wary at the same time, just knowing the history of this fixture for us. It's a bit of it's one of them ones where you think, no, Arsenal win this, and then 5 minutes later you'd be like, oh, but it's Everton, it could be tricky. But no, we're going to win. Oh, but then your head just goes into a spin. But no, what about you, mate? How did you feel going into it? Because obviously you went to the game, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I was lucky enough to go with our good friend Waleed. So I made my way. God, 8:00 kickoffs are a nightmare. I will be very honest. I am too old now to do these 8:00 kickoffs. It's a 4-hour trip to Liverpool from where I live. And the journey was fine. The journey was absolutely fine. But my body can't take much anymore. I'm very delicate there. But yeah, do you know what? It was a fabulous stadium. Really well designed, really well, very accessible. I noticed that quite a lot. And it was very scenic. So where we parked, literally, you could look down the street where we parked, and you could see the Hill Dickinson Stadium. It is very bright against the skyline, and it was it's a really scenic place where they've built it on the docks. Really impressive. I was nothing but impressed by the quality of the building and the facilities as well. They had lots of amenities. It was easy to get round, and once the actual, the pre-match entertainment started, it was really impressive. They had the whole light show. They've gone. One thing I did think they went a bit over the top for Arsenal is they had a huge tifo, kind of similar to the Tottenham one. And I thought, are we that big? Yeah, we are that big, but it's Arsenal. It's not the Merseyside derby or something like that. And they had this big tifo put up, and I was like, okay, fair enough. This is your big cup final for the year.
Yeah.
For me, it's another away game, but whatever. Yeah, really good, really well done. They've got safe standing in place, so that's not obviously. So they've built for that already. I will say some of the ushers were very heavy-handed with people. They're like, "You sit in your seat now. Get to your seat. I don't care if you want to talk to someone. Go to sit in your seat." But really impressed, and for me, it was really easy to get out of. We got out of Liverpool, so from where we left, we got out in an hour with a KFC in the middle.
Of course, the Colonel
you had to do something. The Colonel always delivers
somewhere, won't he?
And I'll tell you this little story. The security. So we got there about 10:40 at night. Again, 8:00 kickoffs. Worst idea ever. Got into KFC about 10:40. Security guard said, "Look, you're going to have to leave. It's takeaway only." I said, "But it says closing at 11 o'clock because on the website it said 11 o'clock. And me and Walid said, "Look, 20 minutes is nothing to us. We'll get it done." And what did we do? 15 minutes. Job done, out the door. That's how it's done. Joe, you know how we roll when we go
the KFC connoisseurs. You never should have doubted you,
Yem. You've seen it before. We when we got a time limit, we can go. But yeah, it was a really fabulous experience. And Walid, I know you do listen to us. I really appreciate it. And always appreciate when we can hang out together and watch the football. So yeah, really great experience. But yeah, Everton always is a bit of an odd one because you know what you're going to get with Everton. Their
Mm.
physical side, they're going to be even more physical given the injuries and the absences they have. Key players are out at the African Cup of Nations. So I thought this is going to be one of those awkward games. But I was looking for us to make a statement given that we'd had a week off. Have we really found our best gear in the Premier League? Have we really clicked and really destroyed someone apart from Leeds? I don't think we have yet. I think we're still quite disjointed, and that's maybe because of injuries and because of, just various factors. But I was looking to this game to show a bit more of what we could do. But let's go into the game. So, Joe, the lineups. Arsenal play David Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Pierre Nketiah, Calafiori at the back. The midfield, Zubamendi, Rice, Erdegaard, Saka, Trossard, and Victor Gyökeres leading the line. With Everton, Pickford in goal, Mikalenko, Keane, Tarkowski, O'Brien, Garner, and I can't say his name, Irabunum in midfield, Grealish, Alcaraz, McNeil, and Barry up front. Joe, when you saw our lineup, how did you assess that?
I was happy with it, mate, to be honest. The back four was exactly what I wanted from when we did the preview show. That's what I was looking for. So I was very happy to see Calafiori come back in. It just in terms of the back four, and even the whole team, mate, to be fair, really, you're looking at that team compared to the Wolves lineup, it just looked a lot more balanced to me straight away. Just on paper, it just looks a lot better. Odegaard, obviously, not a problem with him starting. In our preview show, I think I went with Eze ahead of him. But again, no problem with Odegaard starting. And I think the only other one was Gyökeres started over. I went for Marino. But no, more than happy with that team, mate. It was a team that defensively looked solid, offensively looked like it could cause a lot of issues if it all clicked. So no, I was more than happy with it, mate. I think that was. It's pretty close to what I would say is probably our strongest 11, really. There's not too many things in there you change. So, no, more than happy.
Yeah, and I agree with you. This is as strong as it can get. I do, and we're going to talk about this. There are concerns over the form of a few players, and we'll highlight some of those. But yeah, I thought, look, the back four is as best as you're going to get it. Saliba being back is a massive one, and that showed in the game as well, defensively. Calafiori as well. I think he cemented himself as the first choice left back, probably the best left back in the league. And yeah, Victor Gyökeres up front, I had no issues with. I think again, you want someone who's going to, with Tarkowski and Keane, you're going to need someone who can, occupy them and then allow Saka and Trossard, you'd assume. But Joe, let's look at the statistics because everyone loves statistics. So, match stats. 35% for Everton in possession, 65% for Arsenal. Expected goals, Everton with 0.2 expected goals, Arsenal with 2.0. I apologise. The PowerPoint gets skewed for some reason. If you're watching on YouTube, you would notice there's a little skew, and I haven't got the time to fix it now. Total shots, 5 for Everton, 13 for Arsenal, and we'll talk about the general performance. Shots on target, 1 for Everton, 2 for Arsenal. So compare that with your total shots, and against those total shots on goal. We do need to discuss that. Big chances, 0 for Everton, 3 for Arsenal. Passes, 250 for Everton with a 74% completion rate. Arsenal, 573 with an 88% completion rate. Corners, Everton 2, Arsenal 3. Joe, the stats tell you that we dominated possession of the game. If you look at expected goals, accurate passes, we dominated the game passing-wise. And that's what we assume with Everton. Everton obviously weakened, as we said, with some people out through injury and through absence. And Arsenal are a reasonably strong team. But I think this game showed up a problem that we do have in that we get shots, but are we creating truly match goal getting chances? Because you look at it, 13 shots, 2 on target, Joe. For me, that's a little poor return. How do you assess this game? Because you and I have got a bit of a different view of this. We discussed this just before. Me personally, I didn't think the performance was amazing. I think it was, a little better than Wolves, and we had a few shots. but it was very horseshoe again. I think we struggled again to really create meaningful chances that we were going to get a second or a third or even score. And we'll talk about where the goal came from. But how do you assess it? Because you and I have got a difference of opinion on this one, don't we, really?
Yes, mate. So I think you always have a different view being at the game and then obviously
Mm.
watch it on TV. I think quite often you kind of have these discussions and your opinions and views are sort of slightly different because obviously from the TV you get a different view and in the stadium you get a different view. I'm obviously sat on the sofa, no one sort of influencing me when kind of what's going on. And obviously in the stadium you feel all the emotion, you feel every moment that little bit more because you're there and you're in it. And I've seen a lot of people kind of saying that it was a poor performance. But for me, I wouldn't say it was a poor performance. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't say it was a brilliant performance. I wouldn't say we played outstandingly well by any stretch. But I think it was a good performance considering kind of coming off the back of that Wolves result, how bad we were in that Wolves game. So that's obviously going to, yes, you want to respond from that, but equally, I think there can be a bit of hangover sometimes where you can think, you can almost be a bit nervous because you think we were so bad last time out, we can't do that again. And you can put a bit of extra pressure on yourself. Um, but I think we controlled the game really well. I think in the first half, off the top of my head, I think Everton only had about 3 touches in our box in 45 minutes. Um, yeah, I
Yeah,
just think
Everton were
that
pretty poor. Everton were pretty poor during the game, I thought,
they were
overall,
poor,
anyway.
don't get me wrong, but I think equally we controlled the game a lot better than what we have done recently. I think the kind of passing stats lend themselves to that kind of view as well. Without jumping too far ahead, I think in the second half, again, we maybe lost a little bit of control in certain moments. We'll talk more in depth, but just quickly, I think we got away with kind of the Saliba run and sort of 5-10 minutes around that moment. It was a little bit hairy, if you like, not in terms of conceding chances, but just there was a lot of ball heading towards our box. There was a lot of kind of players running at our defenders once sort of the midfield has been beaten. But then towards the end, I thought again we controlled it brilliantly. And Sky put up I don't know if you had a chance to watch it back, Ian, but they put up a stat at the end of the game. And for the last 10 minutes, Arsenal had 80% possession. And it's just what a way to kill a game is just keep the ball. And I think that's what they did really well at the end. On another day, I think we could have won that game 4-0 quite easily.
Mm.
Obviously, the shots on target don't take into account the 2 that hit the woodwork. Obviously, Saka had one cleared off the line as well. Trossard obviously off the post, Zubimendi off the post. And on another day, mate, them chances go in, and then we're talking about Arsenal potentially winning away at Everton 3 or 4-0. And then straight away, people are going, wow, what a performance. And that would have been the Man City result at Palace that I mentioned at the start. So don't get me wrong, there's still some teething issues there. Like you said, the horseshoe, maybe not creating as much as we'd like. But at times and at moments in that game, I thought we did look very good. And I think sort of the chance that we created for Trossard, the way we moved the ball from right to left, sort of 1-2 touch football on the right hand side, finding the gaps and working the space with Trossard. And 9 times out of 10, he scores that. So don't get me wrong, things to improve on still. But on the whole, away at Everton, 8 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday, which is horrible. Not a terrible performance, but still plenty to improve on.
Yeah, I agree with there's plenty to improve on. My concern is around how long term in this title race we're going to, beat teams, because I'm finding that we're struggling quite a lot. We look a little disjointed at the moment in terms of chance creation, getting goals. I don't think we've actually clicked properly this season. As I said, I think the Leeds game is probably the only game that I felt, look, we battered them. We're having to, our defensive solidity obviously has helped in a lot of games, but I also don't feel that we're an attacking force that teams are really scared of. They set up a 5 and then that's it. Arsenal will settle into the horseshoe. Is my overall feeling at the moment. I just think a few players are going missing, and we are going to talk about those players. I think that I have concerns around. But I do take your point on board, Joe. 8 o'clock kickoff. It's not the normal, times for a game. It's away at Everton. It's cold. It's it's not a great place to go to. They're trying to turn it into a fortress, and they've done a lot of work for it. And as you said, the Wolves game can provide that little bit of hangover. I just think that for someone who's going for the title, we're just fumbling a little bit in terms of what we should be doing. Given the squad, we've got players returning. We had a very good bench, and I don't think again we utilize it as much as we could have at the right times. And I think that there were questions for me. But let's keep moving on, and we'll talk about the incidents. So, first one is the penalty that was given. This was actually a weird one, Joe, wasn't it? Because there was a VAR call beforehand for pretty much the same thing, which was O'Brien handballing from a corner, and then we got a second corner straight afterwards, and it was a handball. How did you view the two instances? Were they both handballs, or was it just the one? Do you think? I mean, again, it's pretty. I mean, to have your hand up there is pretty silly, and David Moyes said, "Oh, the boy got a little push in the back." This guy's a giant. O'Brien is an absolute giant. I can't see this being anything but he knew what he was doing, and he was trying to just stop Calafiori from getting on the end of it. Because if he didn't, it was a definite header, and it would have been a goal, I think.
Yeah, so I assume the first bit you're talking about, Yem, is the push on Gyökeres. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a difficult one for me. I think if you're a centre forward, why would you go down there? Because it looks like you've got a free header at goal. So in that respect, I think it must be a penalty, because why wouldn't you just walk in and head the ball in the back of the net? There wasn't too many replays of it. VAR checked it, said it wasn't. So I'd be fairly happy to say no penalty there. I think Gyökeres could probably be stronger. I think maybe that was possibly a confidence thing. Don't really know, but ultimately from the corner, or the resulting corner, sorry. Yeah, Calafiori's got a giant leap on him there, and as O'Brien's hands come up, you can see Calafiori. He's planting that header. That's not hitting him on the top of the head. He's for the forehead to ball on that. That ball's going to be travelling towards goal at some speed, I think. So whether it would have gone in, we'll never know, because obviously you never got the contact on it. But yeah, when both your hands are above your head like that, like you're playing volleyball, trying to block sort of like a spike or something.
Yeah.
It's only ever going to go one way. It's just surprising how long it took them to actually give the penalty, I think, because surely one look at that and you can say that was a penalty.
The conspiracy theorist in me is like, how can we turn this over? Isn't this Arsenal? I don't want them getting a goal here. How do we turn this over? I think the Arsenal conspiracy theorists will probably go, yeah, we knew what the PGMOL are doing here. But
yeah, there's just no way you can't give that, though. There's just no way.
No, it was blatantly obvious. And when the goal came, the penalty taker was Victor Gyökeres. What a hit. I don't think there's any doubt about his ball striking or his ability to finish. And we're going to talk about the other areas of his game, but that penalty literally nearly took off the goal, didn't it?
Yeah, that wasn't a penalty by a player lacking confidence, was it? That wasn't a player who kind of is in front of goal and is not too sure what he's going to do. That was a player who knows his craft, who knows how to take a penalty, knows what he wants to do, and he just absolutely hammered it, mate. And that, do you know what? It's so nice to see a penalty taken like that, because so often these days you see players kind of do the slow run up, wait for the keeper to go down, and just kind of roll it one way or the other. So to see someone just take a sort of 7 steps back, big breath, run as fast as you can at the ball, and just lever it with your laces into sort of either side of the goal, high and hard, just top quality penalty. No keeper is safe.
The goalkeeper, Pickford was never going to get that, was he? It was too much. Even if he did, it would have taken his hand off, given the force that he went in
I think it was one of them where it wasn't like in the corner. It was sort of, as Pickford's dive, it's kind of gone behind his shoulder, so you're never going to get your arm up into that sort of position. So he's not put it in the corner so the keeper can get a hand over to it. It's kind of back on him. So yeah, keepers aren't going to save them when it's behind him like that. So it's a really good penalty.
Yeah, and it was needed for Victor Gyökeres, and for me, he's the best penalty taker at the club. There's no doubt about that. Even Mikel Arteta's, said Victor Gyökeres is the one to be taking penalties.
I think he scored his last 24 off the top of my head. I think I saw the other day.
Yeah, he's got a very good record with penalties. So look, he should be the default first penalty taker. I know Saka in the past has been, but you've got a striker of that quality. You should be giving him the ball to say, look, you take the penalty, just get it done and guarantee us that goal. But Joe, you mentioned it before. So another incident that happened, the William Saliba tackle on Tirabani, where he went, looked like kind of went down the ankle, not the ankle, the calf of the Everton player, but it wasn't given on the VAR because it wasn't excessive force. A lot of commentators have said they think it was a penalty. What was your opinion? Did we get away with it?
I think so, mate, because I think so because I'm not how 9 times out of 10 you see them given, don't you?
Yeah.
It's I'm not
It
being
was
funny.
given.
Look
It was
at
given
the
the day before. It was given the day. There was a red card at the on the Liverpool game, wasn't there? For something similar, wasn't it?
yeah. This is.
No, yeah, for Xavi Simons. Xavi
I
Simons, wasn't
know
it?
that. I know that. Sorry, the player's name was it Barry?
Barry. Yeah.
Yeah, I know Barry got his. So he got his foot to the ball first, and obviously the ball went flying up in the air. He's never going to get on the end of whatever touch that he's made on that ball because he's just kind of essentially just thrown a foot at it and got there first. And Saliba's obviously made contact with him. But when has that ever been relevant in terms of penalties? Like usually when you see a player kick another player, regardless of where the ball's gone, you normally see a penalty given. And my mind just instantly flashed back to Brighton away last year when Saliba tried to head the ball and got João
Yeah.
Pedro, and a penalty was given against us for that. So when I saw this replay, I was like, that was as stonewall a penalty against Arsenal as you're ever likely to see, really. But Saliba's made contact with the other player. So in my head, I'm just thinking that there's no leeway with this. The ref's going to give it because we kind of know how we get or are given penalties against us. So for me, mate, I don't know what your view was in the stadium, but when I saw the replays back, I was just straight away thinking, well, that's going to be a penalty. So when one wasn't given, I was absolutely shocked, mate, and thought, yeah, okay, we're going to win this game now because that is, as long as the day is, that is going to be a penalty against Arsenal. But
We've been
magically, it
mentally
wasn't.
scarred, haven't we, by VAR?
Yeah, exactly, mate,
guaranteed VAR decisions. But no, we were at the other end, so we couldn't really see anything in terms of the incident itself. And obviously, when we saw the VAR notice flash up, we were like, it's going to be given, isn't it? Because as Arsenal fans, what you've got PTSD over every VAR decision. But looking on the replays, it's hard. It's a hard one, isn't it? They say there's no excessive force. It's an interesting one. Because what constitute excessive force? He did go to he went down the back of the player.
This is the thing again, mate, isn't it? It's just that lack of consistency. We don't know what is a penalty. Like you'll next weekend, maybe the following weekend, you'll see the exact same situation play out and a penalty be given.
Yeah.
And that's where fans get the ump because we just don't ever know what the ruling is, what's a penalty, what's not. 1 week it will be, 1 week it won't be. We just never really know, and that is the frustration.
Yeah, that's the biggest frustration, inconsistency. And we've said it for a number of times on this show that we just want consistency. If it's the same rule applied next week, fair enough, as in the player gets away with it. But if not, then you're starting to ask the question as to why, what's the difference? They've said it's excessive force, but how are they measuring that? Is that just by eyeballing it? I'm not sure how it goes. But Joe, it ended 1-0. It wasn't the greatest attacking performance. And there's a few areas I want to talk to you about. The first one is the captain, Martin Odegaard. Martin Odegaard is a very good player. We know that. But since he's come back, I think he's been very off form. He lacks intensity. He lacks physicalness. I wonder if the whole, getting the multiple injuries in a row has affected him psychologically because he seems to be ducking challenges quite often. But the biggest concern I have is the amount of chances he's created now. The stats show he created 4 chances, which was the highest in the game. But for me, they were poor chances. They were poor options. He overplayed it. He overheld it, or he didn't pass it in the right way. The Victor Gyökeres one. Instead of playing a vertical ball, which Victor Gyökeres could have run onto, he played this curling ball out to him. I just think that I'm struggling to see where the benefit is in Martin Odegaard at this moment, because if you look at the person who was in there beforehand, which is Eberechi Eze, Eze was delivering goals and moments, which is better than what Odegaard has done, because Odegaard is kind of coming too deep at points. Why do you need to do that? You've got Zubamendi and Rice. There's no need for you to drop so deep that you receive the ball. He's struggling with this kind of change in his what he should be doing, i.e., before he was the best player on the pitch. And he should be the one receiving the ball, getting the ball, and moving on. But now he should be getting up the field a little bit higher to support Gyökeres, because there's no service going into him, and the next piece is around Victor Gyökeres. Because I've gone in hard on Victor Gyökeres, but in this game I thought there's nothing to him. There's nothing coming for him. Where is the service? And when he got a bit of service, it was from Saliba, who you didn't really expect it from. And he shot it wide, which is fair enough. But Waleed made a very good point. Erling Haaland gets everything flows to Erling Haaland eventually. They play through him. Now, Arsenal don't do that. But if you've got a striker of Victor Gyökeres' supposed quality, with him being the Gerd Müller trophy winner, etc., 59 goals, you have to make sure that you're using that in the best way possible. He's not a hold-up player. He's not in number 9. And I know we've played with that for a number of years. But Ødegaard should be smart enough to realise I need to get further up the field and keep feeding him. Saka, I should be feeding Victor Gyökeres, feeding him. Trossard, feeding. Because what's the point then in having this player on the pitch and just making runs and occupying players? Yeah, occupying players, defenders is one thing. But you've got to give him the tools to score goals. You know, he's getting a lot of flack at the moment because obviously he's not delivering. But part of it, I think, is just the players behind him are not doing enough. I personally think. What do you think, Joe, in respects to Ødegaard first and then Gyökeres?
In regards to Odegaard, I think you probably are right, mate, in terms of these sort of injuries have kind of set him back. Because we're just not seeing the Odegaard that we saw prior to that injury he picked up with Norway. I'll go back as far as that to say with the last time I saw a real kind of high level Martin Odegaard performance. He, like you said, he seems to hold on to the ball too long. His weight of pass to me seems to be off. I think the one you mentioned, mate, where he could have just rolled Gyökeres in on goal, and he forced him really wide to the point where Gyökeres had to put a cross in. When with a better pass, I think Gyökeres can take a shot first time across the keeper, and with, like you said, 59 goals in a year, whatever it was, you'd expect him to kind of at minimum work the goalkeeper from there, maybe possibly even score a goal. So. Yeah, he's weird, mate. And like you said, he's always dropped deep. I mean, we've seen games where he'll pick the ball up at right back at times and stuff like that. But I feel like this team now, with Timber at right back, with Zubimendi as your holding midfield player, you don't want Odegaard going in and picking the ball up there because you're limiting yourself in terms of players who you've got higher up the pitch because your number 10 is sort of so deep. And then you're effectively just getting in the way of people like Timber and Zubimendi, who are fantastic progressors of a ball. We've seen what Timber can do when he gets on the run. He can beat a few players and open things up. We know what Zubimendi's capable of when he picks up the ball, and he can sort of pick passes out as if it light work for him. It's not a problem. So when Odegaard goes in there now, obviously before, when Ben White was at right back and you could say maybe Jorginho or Thomas Partey were in that kind of role, then okay, I can understand him doing it because he was in good form at the time as well. When he'd go back there, he'd pick the ball up and he'd sort of set us on our way. But this team has evolved now, and I think Martin Odegaard, his position has evolved, but I don't think he has evolved into it. I think now we need a number 10 who stays higher up the pitch. We don't need him dropping into them sort of areas because we've got people who can get on the ball and who can sort of make things happen for us in different positions now. And we've seen Gyökeres needs a bit of support up there. There's no point of Odegaard dropping so deep and then Gyökeres he's just isolated all the time. And teams often play 3 centre-backs against us. So 1 against 3 isn't going to work. No matter how good you are, you could put Haaland up against 3 centre-backs and I'm sure he'd find it a lot harder to get involved in the game. So yeah, I think Odegaard he needs to maybe him and Arteta need to have a sit down and just kind of work out what they want that position to be. You might be in a good position to kind of comment on this, Yem, but obviously a lot of praise Odegaard got was for how he presses and the work he does when we're off the ball. On the TV, it looked like he was kind of doing that again for us. It looked like he was kind of organising that press. I'd be interested to know what you think. So I was using the stadium, so you might
I
be able to
don't think
comment
he
better.
engaged. Again, I'm going to come back to that. He does engage, but the problem is it's not the same as what he used to do, which he was a bit more physical. He looks like he's scared to go for the challenge and try to really exert himself. He's almost half-arsing it, if I call it that. And I just don't know if that's also part of the reason why he's dropping deep as well, Joe, that he prefers to, if I've got I don't want to engage these defenders directly because I'm going to get hurt again. And psychologically that could be an issue because obviously it's more compact the further up you go. You make your way towards the goal. It's going to be more players in that midfield. It's more players. He obviously gets the ball to try and, circumvent that. But that's not helping the team, as you just said, Joe, that you're isolating Victor Gyökeres from any kind of service. You're limiting Martin Zubamendi's scope because you're just saying, look, just give it to me. And he's just doing a short pass. So what's the point? Timber is also, has to get up higher quicker. And so you're kind of limiting quite a lot of players and the system effectively to service your lack of, that you're not quite comfortable in yourself, if you get my meaning.
Yeah, I
And
mean, do you reckon
I
it's
just,
possibly because obviously we know when players come back from injuries, it can take a while. You do until you feel 100% comfortable. You do hesitate about going into challenge because you're worried about getting hurt again. And obviously, he had the two shoulder injuries sort of in back-to-back games, and maybe there's an element of that, Yem, that maybe he might be fit and ready to play, but maybe he's not 100% confident in his body yet, and he's worried that if he takes another hit, that could be another injury, and maybe he's just trying to avoid that. And until you get that confidence, maybe that's what was going to happen for the time being. Because until he gets that full confidence back in his body, then he is going to be kind of tentative when it comes to the physical contact. And like you said, maybe that's why he is dropping into these deeper positions so much.
yeah. And look, that's a very valid possibility given the amount of injuries he's had recently. In the last year, he's had horrific injuries, and then obviously this season had 3 in a row. It's not been a great thing. The problem is that I think in the past, when Martin Odegaard's out, that's it. Arsenal's creative force is gone. There's nothing. Now it's different. You've had Eze in the 10 there, who has, let's be honest, delivered more than Odegaard has in the last couple of games. He's scored goals, key goals, and he's had more influence on the ball. So competition's always good. But for me personally, I don't think Odegaard at the moment is justified in being in that position. I know he's the club captain, and I know he's working his way back to fitness, but it would have been better served for him to play maybe the League Cup game this week rather than a Premier League game, because I think Eze in that 10 position has done a better job this season. And there's nothing bad about it. That's a good thing for us because it means that we've at least got the capability to be creative in that position. I think it works better for him and for Gyökeres to have someone closer to him who, is going to be a threat, because teams know that if Eze's at the other edge of the box, he's going to have a shot and it's going to be a high quality shot. So I just think at the moment, A, it's hampering a number of players. B, it's not great when are you just playing him because he's the club captain, but he's not really doing enough to justify that place. And when you're going for the Premier League title, do you need to be a bit more? Does Arteta need to be a bit more ruthless and say, look, the better player at the moment is unfortunately Eberechi Eze, and allow Odegaard that time to get back to his best, play him in the games like, as I said, the Crystal Palace game tomorrow, and not have so much pressure on him. So, what would you do, Joe? Would you? So let's. We're going to cover the Palace game in a minute, but the next game is the next Premier League game is Brighton at home. If you were Arteta, who starts in the number 10 for you? If everything's fine, no injuries, etc. How?
It all comes down to opposition to me, yeah. And I think we're now in a position where we can play and we can pick 11s, obviously injuries permitting, based on our opposition now. Whereas Odegaard was always the go-to. Odegaard at 10 every week, every game, Odegaard's there. Whereas now we've got the option of Eze in there as well. Two very different profiles. Eze is you might so Eze you might get sort of a week where he's a 5 out of 10. You might get a couple of games where he's sixes, but then one week, like we saw against Spurs, he will turn up and he'll be a 10 out of 10. It would be kind of like bang bang magic, and he'll do something like that. Whereas Odegaard, he'll always kind of float around, kind of like your 6, 7, 8s. Like you'll never get them kind of magic moments from Odegaard, because realistically, I don't think we ever have had them. So I think it'd be silly to expect them to come now. So if Odegaard can continue, and once he gets back into a bit of a rhythm, being that kind of consistent player where he's kind of picking passes and doing that kind of thing, we can then dovetail Eze with that magic to come in games, and he could bang a couple of goals in, and then he might go missing for 2 or 3 games. And I'm totally okay with that. And that's not a criticism. Eze, like we said, he's still getting used to this way of playing. Use Declan Rice as an example of when he first joined the club, and he said like the levels that he wasn't ready for and how much he had to change his game and how much he had to learn in terms of football. Eze's going through that at the moment. So I'm totally okay with Eze being less consistent but providing those magic moments, as long as Martin Odegaard can come back to a level where he is that consistent kind of player again. In terms of the next league game at Brighton, or at home to Brighton, sorry, Brighton won't be sitting back against us. I think Brighton will look to do a bit against us. So it could be a game where you do give Odegaard the start, mate, because you wouldn't expect Brighton to be sat in deep, kind of the 2 banks of 4 or 5, whatever it might be, and just kind of try and suffocate Arsenal. Brighton will look to try and get something from this game. Don't get me wrong, they're not going to come out and sort of attack us and play sort of flair football, but they won't be sitting in like Wolves did. There'll be a bit more space. So in that game, you could give Odegaard a game, and you might see Odegaard kind of create a bit more. Again, would you go Eze because of the kind of the running power, the ability he's got from the edge of the box to pick it up and kind of finish those kind of half chances, those cutbacks? So I've dragged out this answer for a few minutes, mate, and my answer is I don't know really. Personal preference, I would probably...
What an analysis. Look at that, people.
I think Eze is probably going to start the game.
That's the Jamie Carragher school of analysis right there, isn't it?
I think Eze is probably going to start against Palace in the week. So obviously didn't get on. So I've got a feeling he'll probably go Odegaard. I would have liked to see Eze play, just like I said, they're magic moments. I think you're more likely to see a goal from the edge of the box, or kind of a half chance taken by Eze, like he did against Palace in the home game. That one chance that broke in the box and he finished it brilliantly. Those moments Eze can bring you. So personal preference would probably be Eze, but I think you'll probably go Odegaard, because I'd expect Eze to get minutes in the week against Palace. What about you, mate? I've dragged that answer out for a long time. I'm really sorry.
Me personally, I think Eze has warranted his place. Look, he's learning, as you said, but he's done a better job. The facts don't lie. He's done a better job there so far. He had a hat-trick against Tottenham in the North London derby. He's scored goals. He's made chances. He just looks like he understands his position better. He's not dropping as deep. He's coming. He's more, towards that striker. And I just think that he's justified his place more than Odegaard has. And Odegaard is the captain. I get that. But we haven't got the time for sentimentality in this race. You're seeing it every week. Man City, they're inconsistent, but they've now started to find their feet and they're getting goals regularly. We need to keep the pressure up, and I just don't think Odegaard at the moment has justified it enough for me personally. Would love to hear, what the listeners think. If you do, just leave a comment on YouTube, on Spotify. What do you think? Is Martin Odegaard hamstringing this Arsenal side at the moment, or do we need to give him the time, as Joe said, to get back to physical fitness and physical comfort? We'll leave it there for that one, but I'm sure we'll have more talking points around that one. Joe, the next game. Oh, well, let's look at the league table. So, after this weekend, Arsenal still top of the league, 2 points ahead of Man City, who beat West Ham 2-0. Should have been more. I don't know how West Ham didn't get battered in that game. Sorry, it was 3-0 actually. Sorry. They got like a half battery. But no Erling Haaland hat-trick. We keep predicting it every week, and no, it doesn't happen. Haaland is conspiring against us. Aston Villa continue to be the form team in the Premier League. Another win against Man United. Morgan Rogers, what 2 goals that were top quality. He's certainly one to watch at the moment, isn't he? And very much the player of the moment in the league, isn't he?
Yeah, that first one was
Um,
that was special. That was some goal. That, and you know what's coming, mate. The links with Liverpool, City, Chelsea, they'll all start now. There'll be talk of 150 million.
yeah,
It'll
of course
be
they were.
silly season. So yeah, that's all coming. But he's playing well, Rogers, to be fair to him.
Yeah,
And Villa are doing well. 10 wins on the bounce. That is very good. The only thing I will caveat that with is that they are massively outperforming their XG at the moment. So Unai could
they
argue he's
usually do, don't they? They
getting a bit of
usually
luck.
do, don't they?
But yeah, mate, they're winning games, so you can't knock them.
No, and the next game is against Chelsea. That would be an interesting one because Chelsea obviously slightly out of form at the moment, and Chelsea obviously in fourth, drew with Newcastle, although Newcastle were 2-0 up before, but they battled back to 2-2. But I still don't think Chelsea are in top form. Ever since they drew with us, it's kind of, they've waned, haven't they, really, Joe, in terms of their title credentials, I would say.
Well, yeah, since they got that massive draw against us, mate, that they suddenly sounded like they was going to win the league and be this unbelievable team. But I don't think they've won a game. So, yeah, like we said at the start, mate, it's just, it only takes 2 or 3 results and things change massively. So Chelsea now, how many points are they off us, mate? I think they're sort of 7, is it?
10.
That's what I mean.
10 off us.
Literally, a few games ago, people were talking about them as being title challengers and all that, and now they're 10 points off. So it just shows how quick 2 or 3 results change things in this league.
A resurgent power, though, is Liverpool, who got a win against Tottenham. Although Alexander Isak looks like he's got a broken leg, which means he'll probably be out for the season, which is unfortunate considering his move. Obviously, Liverpool fans are starting to say we need to go back into the transfer market, the links with Semenyo. But again, it's another win. They're starting to claw back some form. I still don't see the dominant team of last season, Joe. Where do you assess Liverpool at the moment?
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think they are the team of last season. They've clearly had sort of some struggles this year. Spent an outrageous amount of money in the summer, strengthening the team, but they've strengthened, but they still look short, don't they? In sort of certain positions, like defensively, I don't think they've got a lot of cover there. Offensively, I think Ekatike's been brilliant. What a player he looks like. But I mean, obviously the fallout with Salah that's happened recently as well. He's now off at AFCON. They've lost Isak. So all of a sudden, a few kind of, an injury and obviously the internationals, all of a sudden they're looking well short, even though they've spent 400 odd million. So I wouldn't, it's still Liverpool, mate. They've still got fantastic players. So I wouldn't rule them out of going on a run and kind of propelling themselves up the league at some point. But the longer, obviously, that takes, the harder it's going to be for them to get anywhere near it. So, yeah, don't rule them out, but they're running out of time if they do want to kind of insert themselves into the kind of the title race picture.
Yeah. Next up, Sunderland, who got a draw in their last game. Still going very well, aren't they? Still really putting in the results that they need to keep them up there. And I think they'll be safe, they're safe, aren't they, really? I think I can't see them getting into the relegation battle. I think they've done really well. I think they're such a well-drilled outfit. I just think that I can't see them dropping into that kind of battle.
It'll be interesting because I think they've lost quite a few to AFCON, haven't they? So it'll be interesting to see their results over the coming month
they've
or
lost
so.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Then we have Man United, who lost yesterday, obviously, to Aston Villa. Still uncertain as to what's going on. And then obviously Bruno Fernandes now looks like he's out for a while with looks like a hamstring issue. So that'll be interesting. Crystal Palace, who we play tomorrow, we'll cover in a second. Kind of inconsistent, aren't they? I think the schedule is starting to tell on them. You can tell that, having to play a lot of games and they're struggling for form. They've got to play Tottenham in the league next. So interesting one there. Brighton Hove Albion in 9th, who play us. Kind of up and down as well, not really with any consistency. Then we had our opponents at the weekend, Everton in 10th. pretty good form there. They go to Burnley next. Newcastle, who drew 2-2 with Chelsea, are in 11th, still struggling, I think, to get consistency in getting results. And obviously, Johan Visser now has gone to AFCON, got injury free, and then went straight away, didn't he? He's played one game and that's it. So crazy. Brentford going well and have jumped to 12th. So, Keith Andrews has recovered well, given that they started the season terribly. Tottenham, oh dear, Tottenham. It's not looking good, Brev. 13th, and noises continue to go around Thomas Frank's ability to manage a large team. Where do you see this one? Because obviously they lost to Liverpool. Indiscipline rife in that game with both Xavi Simons and Christian Romero being sent off. I mean, it's a pretty poor showing, isn't it, at the moment?
Brain dead, mate. I don't know what Xavi Simons was doing. Like, considering Van Dijk's his international teammate as well, and he's just gone and stuck one on him like that. I just don't know what you're trying to do there. Yeah. Like, it's not like the ball was there and he's wanting to kind of leave one on him, but make it like going forward. He literally just ran up and just raked the back of his calf, which is mental. And then Romero, that's standard for him. Obviously, we don't watch a lot of Spurs, but Romero is he seems like a bit of a lunatic. And essentially that's what happened and got him sent off. He just lost his head, didn't he? And just went through madness. And while we're on this point, if we're talking about kind of the biggest dickheads in football, Richarlison's got to be up there.
Oh yeah, Richarlison's definitely up there. It's on it. I don't know how he does it. I mean, do you remember that Man United got when he scored against Man United? He was like, "My God, it's like the biggest thing ever." And then obviously Man United scored. He looked like a right dickhead at that.
Well, mate, he's done that so many times.
He has these bozo moments, doesn't he?
He's scored so many late goals that have ultimately resulted in Spurs not winning games. And he is, mate. Do you know what? He's a sort of player who runs around causing aggro to make it look like he's actually doing something and contributing. He is so poor. I know he gets the odd goal here and there, but I think Spurs fans are wising up to this, that he's essentially a con man because he's a terrible footballer. And all he does is run around sort of causing aggro just to make it look like he's contributing in some way. But he's just, can we use profanity, Yem, or do you want to save you some work?
Yeah, look, we've already used it already. This is going to be marked as E already, explicit already. So
in that case, knock
yourself out. Oh dear. And then Bournemouth are in 14th. Bournemouth struggling a little bit. They've lost quite a few games as the table shows. Where's Bournemouth's form gone, Joe? Do you think?
I'm not sure, but you can bet your bottom dollar they'll recover it as soon as we go and play them in a few weeks, mate. It's inevitable that Kluivert will turn up. Semenyo will have the game of his life. It's nailed.
He's off anyway, isn't he? I think the news is he's pretty much off, isn't it? It's nailed on. He'll go either to City or to United. It'll be one of those two. I mean, Liverpool are there, but he wanted Arsenal because he was an Arsenal fan, but we don't have the capability to do it in the winter window, which is what he wants. He wants it in the winter, and we haven't got that capability because obviously we spend quite a lot already. So, I think you see a player who is definitely not trying to get injured and playing within himself to get that big move. But it's not helping his club. Fulham in 15th. Fulham have got the capability to get dragged into this relegation fight because I don't think they're good enough. It's like fits and starts with them, and it's pretty poor. Leeds in 16th. Leeds have had decent form recently, so they have turned it around, but they're still in 16th, so they're not certain. Nottingham Forest in 17th. Again, they've had some good form recently, but they're still down there. West Ham, my God, West Ham are so poor at the moment. And now the news today that Nicholas Füllkrug has gone to Milan. They need a striker urgently. Is there any decent striker out there though? I mean, they're linked with Strand Larsen from Wolves. That's like taking bad from one end and putting it into bad on the other end. It's not exactly going to make it good all of a sudden. He's not that good a player. Burnley in 19th. Yeah, I think they're nailed on. I can't see them not. But then Wolves, my God, I didn't realize they only had 2 points. After 17 games. They could be on for the worst team to be the team to be relegated with the lowest points total in the Premier League history. But Joe, we're top at Christmas doesn't really mean anything, to be honest, because we've had that before, and look where we ended up. So, look, it's good that we've kept our momentum, but we need to keep going. But let's look at the next fixture, which will be Arsenal versus Crystal Palace in the Carabao Cup. Oh, yeah. I don't know how to approach this one. I've made it very clear, and Wayne knows this. Wayne, our good friend, I call this Carabobbins. It is not my highest priority. I, I, to be honest, given the Premier League and the Premier League Champions League are the two that I am focused on. I get that we want to win a trophy, but the Carabao Cup is not the priority for me. I'm not as high on it as some people are. How are you viewing this game, Joe? Are you a Carabao Cup fan?
No, in short, yeah, I'm not. But there's been a lot of talk, hasn't there, about kind of winning that first trophy and it kind of sort of taking the shackles off, if you like, going into the rest of the season. And that is it's an argument I've never really bought into, but the longer we've kind of gone without a trophy, the more I've kind of thought, okay, maybe there is something to that, because obviously that's what City did in their prime. Chelsea did it in their prime. I remember United doing it. So maybe it's time we did kind of go for it and try and win that Carabao Cup early in the year and see what kind of effect that has on us. Because obviously couldn't even tell you when last time we won whatever version of the League Cup it was.
Steve Morrow. It was what
well,
in the 90s where Steve Morrow injured himself. That's when we last won it. Semi-final, we've been better. Last year, obviously, we got to the semi-final against Newcastle, but fell short. So we have got some history in this, but if I'm looking at this on paper, look, we're going to rotate heavily, I assume. If we don't, then I have a problem already in that, are you prioritizing this and the league, or is it just Arteta being Arteta and look, he goes full tilt? Because you definitely don't want that. You want players rested. You want to see Norgard, Marino, Eze, Martinelli.
What would your lineup be for this one, Yim?
I would go Kepa in goal. He needs the minutes. The right back is a problem. The defense is the biggest problem because we haven't got that much in the way of options. I really would want to rest Timber. I really would want to rest Timber. I don't know if Marley Salmon is a consideration at the right back slot for this one, or Josh Nichols even, because we need Timber is red zoned. We already know that. He's in the red zone. I get the feeling Marley Salmon will start at right back on this one, and then you're going to have Saliba, Hincapié, and you're going to try and haul Saliba off as quickly as possible, potentially to get, rest him because he's still not 100%. With Miles Lewis-Skelly at left back. Midfield, if Norgard doesn't start, then we know there's a problem because this is the game that he should be starting in. It's not a priority. He should be starting there. And then with Norgard, it should be Marino, and then Eze in the attacking midfielder slot. And then your wingers should be Martinelli and Madueke to give the minutes up front. You'd have to go with Victor Gyökeres because he needs the minutes. He needs the confidence. What would you do?
Yeah, similar, mate. I think you'll probably see Timber start at right back, unfortunately. I also wouldn't be overly surprised if we saw Norgard in centre back again, like against Bruges, with Saliba on the bench. I think MLS at left back has to play. I think Hincapié unfortunately has to play, but we don't really have many other options there, like you've already said. Going into the midfield, obviously, if Norgard's not playing in the centre back role, I'd like to see him in midfield. I do not want to see Declan Rice playing in this game. I do not want to see Zubimendi playing in this game. I think, like you said, Eze in the 10. I think the wingers will kind of pick themselves. Marino, obviously, in the middle as well. And then striker-wise, he could potentially throw Jesus in. That's another option. Obviously, we've got Wanyeri
I forgot about
as well.
Jesus.
So,
and Wanyeri's struggling to get minutes, isn't he? This is
not Arteta's obviously not having something there, mate, because Wanyeri was the golden boy, and now he's not getting many minutes at all. So I wonder what you could midfield of Marino, Wanyeri, and Eze maybe. If Norgard plays at centre, if you put Norgard in at centre half to give Saliba a rest, maybe. I don't know. There's still a few options there, mate, that we can kind of rotate and give people a rest and still keep Palace guessing a little bit. What the team will be, I'm not sure, but as long as there is big rotation, don't want to see Saka starting. I don't want to see Rice. Ideally, wouldn't see Timber or Saliba, but appreciate the situation we're in. One of them going to have to play, if not both. So yeah, like we said, mate, the order of the day will be rotation, and with all due respect, I think that should still be enough to beat Palace, because I think Palace have got a few injury problems themselves. I think Sarr's obviously gone off to the AFCON. I think Munoz is injured. So yeah, Palace are having their struggles as well. You touched on already their hectic schedule that they're struggling with. So we're obviously more used to this midweek fixtures. Hopefully, even with rotation, we will be the stronger team on the night and come through, even with a sort of much rotated 11.
So give me a score. I'm going to go with a 2-1 to Arsenal. I'm going to go back to my default.
Of course you will, yeah. It's been a while. I'll go 3-1. I think Palace will score because if Mateta comes on at some point, we've seen the problems he's caused us. He's brilliant, Mateta. So yeah, I'd fancy Arsenal to get the win. I think players like Madueke coming in, Eze coming in, they'll be fresh. Palace obviously won't have the same level of squad depth that we have. They might be able to rotate, but there's going to be a significant drop off from their usual starting 11. So if Palace rotate, if Arsenal rotate, I'd expect Arsenal to kind of come through this game, and the quality should show. Maybe at the start of the game it'll be competitive, it'll be close, it'll be kind of tight at the start, but I think once the game gets kind of hour and beyond, you should see Arsenal kind of overpower Palace, I think, with the rotation options and the kind of freshness that we will have.
Yeah, I'd hope so as well. That, Palace have had a very intense schedule, as you said, Joe. So they're not used to that. We are. So you'd hope that we'd be better equipped. But yeah, we're going to see what happens. But this is the last podcast before Christmas. So from us to you, all the listeners out there, thank you so much for listening. We're going to leave it there, but thank you again for all the for helping us on this journey. We're wishing you a very happy Christmas, and we'll cover, obviously, we're going to do a preview for the Brighton game. But for now, Joe, thank you so much. Thank you out there. We'll see you on the other side of Christmas on the next episode of Red Lines Half Spaces. Bye for now.
Have a great Christmas, everyone.